Tonight on SpeedWeek, it's deja vu all over again at Monza. The Intimidator tries a different set of wheels and will break open a 50-year time capsule. Shh. SpeedWeek is next. Hi, everyone, and welcome to SpeedWeek. I'm Bob Jenkins. In the next half hour, we'll have details on a new Winston Cup team. We'll celebrate a motorsport legend's golden anniversary, and we're going to visit with someone who is part of what has become a very common trend here on the show, a first-time IndyCar winner. But first, our congratulations go to Jacques Villeneuve and Team Green on winning the PPG Cup. With his 11th place finish on Sunday, Jacques tallied enough points to take the title no matter what decision is reached in the pending Team Penske Portland appeal. The 24-year-old Canadian set track records at 6 events, won 4 races, including the Indianapolis 500, and becomes the youngest driver to win the championship.
Oh, yeah, it's great to know what the championship is right now. Whatever happened with the appeal, we've won it, and then, that's great for whole Team Green. They've done a great job all season. The championship, it shows the chemistry, the work of a whole season, and they sure proved they were the best.
Now, as much as Sunday belonged to Villeneuve, another sensation, this one a Brazilian rookie, got what everyone else wanted, a victory lane celebration that will make the long winter a little easier to bear. After qualifying third, Gilles de Ferran took over the lead from Villeneuve on lap 29 and led all but 2 of the remaining 56 laps for his first career victory. De Ferran also had the honors of setting IndyCar Series records as the 10th different and 5th first-time winner during a single season. Well, the celebrating continues for De Ferran, and lucky for us, Derek Daly has been invited to the Indianapolis party.
Bob, the celebration started last Sunday at Laguna Seca, and in fact it will continue this weekend in Brazil because Gilles jumps on a plane tomorrow. But thankfully, we are part of the victory celebrations here at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, and we are eyeing big old juicy steaks here. But first of all, Gilles, congratulations on a wonderful weekend. On Sunday morning, did you have any premonition that maybe this is going to be your day?
Oh, I had an acid stomach. Well, I thought we went to Laguna well prepared. We tested there before, but of course you never know who's going to win. And that's the beauty about IndyCars. Week in, weekend out, there's about 10 guys that can win the race, but I knew we had a chance.
This may be an easy answer now that you've won, but was the season as difficult as you thought it might be?
Well, I would consider the season a success. The very fact that we were, fighting for such good positions, top 3 positions, top 6 positions in about 80% of the races, I think make the season a success. Sure, we could have had lots more points, and if misfortune hasn't struck so often, but in the end, it worked out well. We managed to get the win last weekend.
Gilles, many people think that you may have hit the jackpot with the announcement that you will use the very powerful Honda engine for next season. How did that whole Honda deal come about?
Both Jim and I really knew all about Honda's heritage in motor racing, and we talked, particularly Jim talked a lot to them, and he felt a lot of commitment to the whole program, and if they achieve half of what achieved in Formula One, and I can be part of that program, is going to be really good for my career.
Now, a man who has such a belief in your talents is 3-time world champion Jackie Stewart. Have you spoken to Jackie? He's very much your mentor. Have you spoken to him since Laguna?
Yeah, I've spoken to him today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did he see the race?
He was between airports all the time, but he called ESPN Sports Center to find out, as a matter of fact. But no, I spoke to him, and he was delighted for the whole thing. And I told him that I had to thank him for a lot of what has happened to my career, because he was really him who brought me from Formula Ford level to where I am now.
Now, Jacques Villeneuve has been the focus of many people's attention. You know the European scene very well. He will go to Formula One. Do you ever see, if we look 5 years down the road, him coming back to IndyCar racing at any time?
Well, the little I know of Jacques, I think he really enjoys a challenge, you know, and I think that's the main reason why he's going to Formula One. He's done so well over here. There was a great opportunity for him to go across the Atlantic, and he felt that there was a big enough challenge to go for. And I think if the same type of challenge presents itself to him in 5 years' time or whenever, I think he might come back.
Thank you, John. Now this looks good. Did you happen to see Monza on Sunday night?
Well, I actually did see Monza, and it was a very sad race for me because I'm very good friends with David Coulthard, and I was really sorry not to see him win the first race, but I want to put the record straight here. It was a car failure. It was not his mistake.
It was indeed a car failure. Now, Bob, I'm sure you don't want to just watch us feed our faces here, so why don't you go ahead and look at these Monza highlights, and we'll just go ahead and have a bit of a feast. Coulthard indeed had difficulty handling a second career pole. His Williams Renault wound up in the sand trap on the warm-up lap, and he saw the first attempt at starting the race from the pit road. With his pole slot open, Michael Schumacher should have been uncontested on the green, but he had twin Ferraris on each side with other ideas. All of this was for naught when the red flag came out for a blocked track after Max Papis, Andrea Montermini, and Jules Bouillon never made it past a scary curve. While they scrambled for their backups, the downtime afforded Coulthard a chance to regrid at the head of the pack, this time in his spare machine. 25 minutes after the first attempt, the field got the green again, and this time Coulthard held off Schumacher and the Ferraris to lead the first 13 laps. This was just not Coulthard's day. He gave up the lead for good when he spun into the sand after breaking a rear wheel bearing. What you're about to see is not a replay of the Silverstone race. After passing a back marker, Damon Hill gave a boot to Schumacher's second-place Benetton, and suddenly both cars were out. From Hill's in-car, it doesn't look like he locked up. You be the judge. This move got him a one-race suspended suspension, and the point spread remains 66-51. And we have to give the Italian director an award for the worst cut of the day. Just as Schumacher reached Hill's cockpit for a possible confrontation, we saw this. Unbelievable. What transpired next sent the Italian Tifosi from exhilaration to desperation, with the Ferraris of Alesi and Berger running 1-2 and a prancing horse victory likely. Alesi's in-car camera fell off, hit Berger's suspension and broke it, putting him out on lap 33. With just 7 laps to go, Alesi's right rear suspension caught fire, and in his swan-song Italian Grand Prix for Ferrari, Alesi was greeted with hugs and tears from his crew after a long walk back. In the right place at the right time, Johnny Herbert. He easily held off Mika Hakkinen for his second Grand Prix victory of the year, and is now hot property in his own search for a drive for next year.
Well, I would hope so. I think winning twice in 1 year has obviously got to be good. There's not many out there who've won racing at the moment, so hopefully there's going to be a chance of getting a good drive, which I think there is.
And I'm sure a two-time Grand Prix winner will indeed find another good drive next year. Jill, congratulations. Thank you for joining us here on Speed Week. Thank you, John. And I just want to say to Bob Jenkins, Bob, I just spoke to the manager, Philip Maloney. He assures me it is fine with him if we send the bill down to you. Cheers.
Thank you, Bob.
Oh, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. Well, lost in the revelry is the fact that DeFerrin won the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year honors by 1 point over Christian Fittipaldi. DeFerrin will pick up the $50,000 prize at the IndyCar Awards banquet November 3rd. Coming up on Speed Week, Dale mows them down at Hollywood and Vine.
So tell me, the Brickyard 400, congratulations, that was great.
Second driver to win the Brickyard, first man to ever win the Brickyard.
That's good.
Welcome back to the show. The Indy cars may be done, but the Winston Cup Championship is far from over. Rusty Wallace has the momentum heading into the Monster Mile at Dover after his dominating win last Saturday night at Richmond. It was Rusty's 41st career win, moving him into sole possession of 12th place on the all-time win list ahead of Tim Flock and Bill Elliott. Wallace's next step will be the 46 victories posted by Buck Baker. With his third-place Richmond finish, Dale Earnhardt regained second place in the points. With 7 races remaining, Dale must average 40 points, or roughly 8 positions better than Jeff Gordon at each event just to catch him. And Gordon has won the balloting in the third quarter voting for Driver of the Year honors. Both Jeff and Jacques Villeneuve received 5 first-place votes, but Gordon got the nod by virtue of his strong second-place showing. Richmond runner-up Terry Labonte's crew chief Gary Dehart was named the Western Auto Mechanic of the race. Labonte rebounded from 23rd starting position and retained his 6th-place points position ahead of Wallace. Busch Grand National points contender Chad Little has unveiled his future NASCAR plans, and part of the itinerary is a return to Winston Cup. Best known for its farm machinery and lawn and garden equipment, the John Deere Corporation has signed a multi-year deal to sponsor new Pontiacs for Little and co-owner Mark Rippon.
Our focus next year is going to be on running all of the Busch Grand National races and hopefully winning some races for John Deere and Company and possibly even the championship. And as we graduate from the '96 season out of Busch Grand National, we'll look forward to running some Winston Cup races. And that's the direction that I want to take as a driver and that our team hopes to take. And I'm excited that John Deere is going to be along with us.
Now here's a look at the Winston Cup qualifying results for Sunday's MBNA 500 at Dover Downs. Bill Elliott leads all active drivers with 4 career wins at the Monster Mile. Rusty Wallace is the defending champion. Welcome back to Speed Week. 50 years ago, this was the state of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after 4 years of neglect during World War II. At the same time as plans were being formulated to bring the Brickyard back to life, the racing career of a young Oregonian was also about to get the green flag. Well, 5 decades later, the final checkered has yet to fall. On September 16, 1945, 17-year-old Herschel McGriff stepped into a race car for the first time at Portland Speedway. On Saturday, almost 50 years to the day, Herschel will again be at Portland racing, just like he always has. In between, well, there's just no one who can tell the stories like Herschel can.
Well, my dad was a minister, so, you know, of course I had the numbers painted on the car. You know, we didn't have sponsors in them days. And so my dad and my mother both went to the first race. And he had another old pickup that he drove out there because I had to go out, you know, a little bit ahead of him. But, of course, of all the cars, it was a dirt track. It was dusty and dirty and so forth. He seen all these cars go in the corner, the first corner, and he went into the grandstand and started praying. He never seen any of the rest of the race. My mom did set up in the grandstand till it was over. That's been the last time that either one of them went to a race. Well, the Pan American Road Race, of course, was advertised, and it was to celebrate the opening of the Pan American Highway. Now, it was 2,178 miles, but about 250 miles at the end was unfinished. It was unpaved. It was through the desert and rocky and so forth. And so probably what a lot of people don't realize is how close it was. I was 8 minutes behind going into the last day. It was ran in segments, you know, 6 days. And I was 8 minutes behind. And of course, what a lot of the older guys didn't realize, I was only 22, but I had a lot of experience up to that time. And I really drove my heart out that last day, and I gained the 8 minutes back and finished 76 seconds ahead. Of course, while I was in Mexico, I met Bill France Sr. and Curtis Turner and him were down there in the Nash, and we got pretty well acquainted. And you know, during the week or 10 days that we spent down there, and he invited me to come back because they were in the process of building what would be NASCAR's first super speedway. So I took him up on it, and I drove the same car. Of course, we had been back in Portland. I drove the car down to the Southern 500 and took the headlights out and had a few spare tires and entered the race and finished 9th and put the headlights back in and drove it back to Portland. But I hit quite a few races, and up to the 1954 season, he called me up because it was a team back there. I had an owner that had 2 cars, and it was mid-season, and they asked me if I wanted to come back and drive. Bill had a single-engine airplane, and he would pick me up after the races, sometimes take me into the city 2 or 3 days ahead. And while we were flying from one place to the other, he would have maps strung out all across the windshield of the airplane, and he'd expect me to steer the airplane on course and always chew on me a little bit, because if I was wobbling back and forth, that was before I learned to be a pilot myself. But he had the instincts to look into the future many years ahead of his time. And the man had a lot of talent, and I appreciated that, and I think he appreciated the talent I had because I had the kind of representation to dress up. You know, in them days, everybody wore dirty, greasy coveralls because a lot of the guys that drove worked on the cars. There was no uniforms. Television had just started back there. In fact, in Portland, we didn't have television yet. So I would go on television interviews and radio interviews, and I think that he thought I represented what he wanted NASCAR to represent.
Herschel's love of NASCAR stock car racing culminated in the 1986 Winston West Championship, not to mention 12 times as most popular driver of the series, and the 1991 NASCAR Award of Excellence presented by Bill France Jr. He raced at Le Mans in a Winston Cup car and explored down under at Calder Park, but his most favorite moment, a Texas shootout.
Well, I had not run the Texas 500 for 20 years. I had been there 20 or 21 years previously, and I think I'd finished fifth in the Winston Cup race. And so, the start of the race, I was, started seventh or eighth. It was kind of dragging back there until I got used to it. But it was quite a thrill to get up alongside Dale with my front fender. And when he got up where he could see the number, I often thought at the time, I wonder what he's thinking about this guy that he says is older than dirt. He's called me that a couple of times. Afterwards, he told me, he says, I just hope I'm as good as you are someday. Now, you're supposed to ask me, are you sure he said that? And I'm going to say, it's his word against mine.
Although McGriff passed on trying Indy cars mostly for safety reasons, he gave the Speedway a shot at the inaugural Brickyard 400. Had he made it, Dick Simon's Indy age record would have been history.
Well, I was fortunate to have the opportunity to go. A friend of mine bought a car from the Woods brothers and had a great car, but unfortunately we didn't have the time to test. And of course 40 cars went home and I was one of them. But it was quite a thing for me to be able to be there. And unfortunately I didn't go fast enough because you just needed a lot of practice to get the speeds up there going. And not being able to drive every week like them boys do, you gotta keep in shape. Well, I would like to keep on for a few years yet. Health-wise, I'm in good shape, and I try to take care of myself. And but like I say, at my age, it's a little hard to pick up sponsors. But I feel that there's a sponsor out there that will fit with the abilities that I have, and so I figure on keeping going for a while. I'm only 67. I won't be 68 for a couple months, so I got a few years left. Well, in the race Sunday, which will be 50 years, my mom was there in the grandstand, and my mother will be 93 December the 9th, so I just might take her to the race Sunday so she can sit there 50 years later and watch me run. I think that would be a thrill.
Now here's Dave the King Wilson with the best of this week's short tracking. Dave?
Thanks, Bob. Sunday night, the Terre Haute Action Track hosted the 43rd Hut 100 for the USAC Midget. Tony Stewart sat on a pole for the 100-lap main with Kenny Irwin Jr. and Steve Knepper alongside. Stewart grabbed the early lead, but was challenged by Irwin, who grabbed the top spot several times, but never at the start-finish line, thus not being credited with leading a lap. The two swapped the lead back and forth for several laps in a row until this close moment at the end of the backstretch when the two touched wheels. Both drivers kept it straight, and Irwin would fall out several laps later. The scariest moment of the night was when Don Schilling and Travis Wellpot flipped in turn 3. Luckily, there was no serious injury to drivers or spectators. After the restart, Dan Drynan got loose and was drilled by Chuck Leary. Neither driver was injured, and Leary continued. All of this had no effect on Stewart as Tony led every lap to record his second Hut 100 victory. When the Club All-Stars visited Kokomo Speedway, an impromptu wheelie contest broke out as first Frankie Kerr in qualifying, then Van Gurley Jr. in the dash put on a show for the fans. Jeff Shepard started from the pole for the 40-lap main event and jumped out to an early lead over outside front row starter Joey Saldana. On lap 16, the second-generation driver passed Shepard for the lead, which he held for about one turn before hitting Jeff Deckard's lap car. Third place Johnny Herrera had no place to go and also became involved. All were done for the night. 4 laps after the restart, Shepard hit a run in turn 2, allowing Dale Blaney to shoot past for the lead. The former LA Laker draft pick held on to grab the $4,000 top prize. Sunday night, World of Outlaws point leader Dave Blaney sat on a pole for the feature event at Bakersfield Speedway. The Buckeye Bullet jumped to the early lead and was followed by California and Randy Hannigan, who grabbed second from Danny Lasowski going down the backstretch. On lap 8, Blaney slipped high in traffic, allowing the World of Outlaw rookie a chance to lead his first feature race. But on a lap 11 restart, Hannigan slipped up and Blaney shot back around to retake the top spot. Dave wrapped up a big weekend for the Blaney clan with his second win in as many nights. For SpeedWeek, I'm Dave the King Wilson.
Thanks, Dave. And now here's a look at the CarQuest racing calendar. For all your auto parts needs, you'll find it at CarQuest. Race fans who stayed up late Monday night got a special treat. Tonight Show host Jay Leno finally got to fulfill a lifelong racing dream with the most intimidating of competitors.
We are about ready to make competition right here with the 7-time NASCAR champion and defending NASCAR champion, Dale Earnhardt. Ladies and gentlemen, on my right. And on my left, a talk show host, Jay Leno. Okay. Go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for the first annual Tonight Show tractor race. Gentlemen, start your tractors. Are we ready at home? Get on your mark. Get set. Go! And it is Jay Leno behind Earnhardt this time. It's going to be Dale Earnhardt with a big lead. He's got about a 3-tractor lead as he makes the first turn. Of Buddy Baker's car number 44, Christy Kalamaki. And it looks like it's more of Dale Earnhardt. He's given more Leno than he possibly could want. It's Earnhardt. Earnhardt with a big lead. And those two are going tire to tire. This time it's Leno. And it's Earnhardt. Tractor to tractor. Wheel to wheel. And it is Leno. And it is Earnhardt taking a wide turn. And here they come. It's going.
I think I'll put my money on Dale in the rematch. And that will do it for tonight's show. After a week's hiatus, we'll be back Friday night, September 29th at 12:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. And we leave you with a salute to the new IndyCar champion, Jacques Villeneuve. So long, everyone.